Hey guys, welcome back to the home and homestead. Today we'll be planting our vegetable garden, and what I have done already this morning is I went through the vegetable garden here, which is what you see in front of you, and I pulled out just a few weeds that were starting to come through and prepped it that way. I gathered up supplies we might be needing. I purchased 8, these are 2-foot tall freestanding trellis. Here's 2 A-frame trellises, they're 4 feet tall. And here are a number of cages that we've used over the years, various colors here. And in the middle, this is a trellis that I created with extra fencing from our garden surround. I may use that as well as a central trellis running through the garden. And off to the side here, we have a bunch of small little vegetable and plant cages. We also have our stakes, and we have some plant food. I purchased some worm castings this year, and we have our plant clips that I have on a previous video, and our seeding square to help establish the spacing that would work best in the garden. But before we get these plant supports and plants in the ground, we're going to be adding some rabbit guard fencing to the bottom of our garden surround. It's real tightly woven down here, or tightly spaced down here. It's wider as it goes up because last year the rabbits ate very well off of our vegetable garden. So we wanted to get this fencing over the lower few feet of the surround of the vegetable garden. I'll be stapling that in place along the perimeter here. So let me get that installed. Alright, so the rabbit guard has been installed all around the perimeter of the garden here. So now I'll lay out roughly where I'd like to put the trellises, and we'll get these plants and seeds in the ground. I'll be doing starter plants as well as direct sow of seeds this year. Alright, so we have the trellises and the cages set up roughly where I want them. We have the irrigation system installed. You can see the hosing here. I have a video on that. You can watch how we installed the irrigation system as well. So now it's time to get the plants and seeds into the garden. And I'll start with the cucumbers, because I plan to plant them at the far end of the garden there. So let's get these planted. Okay, so for the cucumbers, we have live plants and 3 different varieties of seeds. I have double yield, pick a bushel, and burpless beauty. So I have a little variety of both pickling cucumbers and slicing or burpless cucumbers. So what I plan to do is do 2 live plants on both sides of this A-frame trellis, and I have 2 of them. And then I'll do little mounds or hills for the remaining varieties of cucumbers, which includes the seeds. Most cucumbers, when you plant the seeds, you can plant 4 to 6, and then they say to thin it down. Just look at the back of the seed package or on the back of the tag to see what they are. I'll probably just plant, 4 or 5 per hill and see what grows from there. So I'll clear away this straw and get these cucumber plants in the ground here. Just add a little bit of worm castings at the base, kind of feed the soil. And you kind of loosen up the root structure a little bit, and then cover. I want these cucumbers to climb up this trellis and kind of wind through it and kind of use this vertical space a little bit. This is a pickling cucumber. So what I'll do is maybe use the worm castings on the inside cucumber plants that I plant and not on the outside, and see which ones do better. So then I'll know next year if I like that with my plants, or if the other ones are kind of fall behind, I can maybe add a little bit to the soil later as well. Cover back up with the straw, and I'll get the rest of these planted. Cucumber plants have been planted, and in the corner here there's one cluster of sweet slice cucumbers, and right next to there's just one Market More 76 cucumber. Those starters did not seem as strong or healthy, so I added some worm castings to the base of that as well. We'll see how those do, and then now we'll move on to the cucumber seeds, and I'll make a few clusters through here. The ones to the left I'll do worm castings, and the ones to the right that I plant I'll do Pro Mix and see which do better. The cucumber seeds have all been planted. We have Burpless Beauties to the back. Pick a bushel between the A-frame trellises here and the arch trellises. And under these arch trellises I planted double yield cucumbers. I have 4 of each variety, with the exception of a 1/5 of a pick a bushel I have in the middle. I have worm castings for seed plantings to the left, and Pro Mix for seed plantings to the right. If there are any additives, fertilizers, or things that you like to put in when planting your vegetable garden, please add those items in the comment section below. We'll see how we do this year with the worm castings and Pro Mix. The middle planting here of the pick a bushel I just left as was, and we'll see how our native soil does. So I'll give all these cucumbers a water, and we'll move on to the zucchini. For the zucchini, I have 2 varieties of plants. I have Aristocrat, which I'll put on this vertical trellis that I created with extra fencing we use around our garden, and Raven zucchinis, which I'll put in these arch trellises. There's 4 of them. And in between here, and along the outer fencing, I'll plant the seeds, which I have the Ford Hook zucchini. So I'll get these in the ground here. The zucchinis have all been planted. I'll give everything a good water, and we'll move on to the green beans. For the green beans, I have plants and seeds of the Kentucky Wonder variety, and I'll be planting them along the outer fence line here of the garden. That'll kind of act as a trellis. If they're planted on a trellis or fencing, they can be 3 inches apart. So I'll put the 3 plants in and then add the seeds in between all these plants. Now we'll move on to the peas. I'm doing Sugar Daddy peas, and these are all from seed. I'm planning to get them on this side of the garden, go all the way to the corner, hopefully. And when facing the peas, I'll do worm castings to the left and Pro Mix to the right. Peas have all been planted. I had seeds all the way to the corner there. And once the sugar peas and the green beans become a little taller, I will support with the plant clips and secure them to the side of the fencing here. That way they'll continue to grow up the fencing as a trellis, and they'll have support that way. All right, on to the next vegetable. That would be the bell peppers. Next we'll be doing the bell peppers, and I have 2 varieties of peppers. I have Better Bells and then just a sweet bell pepper. The Better Bells are green, and the sweet bell peppers can range from green to red. I wanted to show you on these better bells, towards the bottom here, you see these little knobs there at the base or the level of the soil. Those are actually little sprouts of more roots. So when you plant these, you want to make sure you get these underground as well. So I'll probably plant somewhere in here. This will be the ground level when I plant them. And that way they'll have a really nice, supportive, and strong root structure. I wanted to point that out for you if you ever see that on your starter plants. So we'll get these bell peppers into the ground as well. These all need a little added support, so I have cages for them, and that'll help when they grow larger and they have these large peppers on them. That'll help support the branches. All right, let's get them in the ground. So when I plant the bell peppers, peppers can be placed 1 every square foot. So I leave the cage upside down, and that kind of gives me an eyeball estimate of the spacing. I place it in there, and then I flip the cage over and insert it around the plant like I did with these two. So the cages kind of serve not only for support, but they help you with your spacing planning as well. The bell peppers have been all planted. I have 4 of the better bells on the outer edge, the outer 4 cages, and then I had a couple extras, so I kind of put them in between the cages on both sides here. When they grow, hopefully their branches can share the cages. And then the inner 4 are the sweet bell pepper. So let's get these watered. And again, I have the Pro Mix on the plants to the right, and the worm castings was added to the plants to the left. And next we'll do some peppers with a little spice. Now for the peppers with some spice. So we'll be planting 4 serranos. There's 3 in the cage and 1 out. And there'll be 4 habaneros. We'll put in these shorter cages with stakes. 4 sweet heat peppers in these 4 smaller cages with stakes. We'll do 4 jalapenos. These 3 for the jalapeno are the salsarific variety, and these 2 here are called pepper mucho nacho, and they're a little larger and a little spicier than a standard jalapeno. Then we have 2 banana peppers, which are going to go in these shorter cages with stakes, and 2 pepperoncinis, again in the shorter cages with stakes. These shorter cages I just created with some wire border fencing, and I cut that down and created these little circles. All right, let me get these planted. And now we've come to planting of the tomatoes. So we have over here 4 super sweet 100s, and over here 6 sweet 100s, then Romas all through here, as well as through here. And the last 2 are called Wisconsin 55s, and they're more of a slicing tomato. So we have quite a few tomatoes to plant. Let's get these in the ground. All right, so the tomatoes are in the ground, in their cages. And I'm holding off on planting the last 2 tomato plants here, so I have access to these smaller blue cages, and I'm going to plant some Brussels sprouts in there. A couple of the starter plants were really quite tall already, so I did the staking and plant clips on them already to help get them straight. All right, let me plant the Brussels sprouts. The Brussels sprouts have been planted and everything's been watered. So now I'm going to plant 2 dill clusters there, and I put them in cages and I grow them from seed, and I use them when I'm canning pickles and dilly beans and stuff like that. So let me get the dill seeds in the ground. And then there's one last thing I'll do for planting my vegetable garden this year. So the dill seeds are in the ground, and I like to put the cages around here. For one, it kind of delineates what's there, and so that I remember the dill's there. And plus, when they grow, they actually grow to be these big bushes with the really big dill flowers. And I like to put those inside of my canning jars with pickles. I buy the Mammoth variety. Those have really nice big flowers. The last thing that I do for my vegetable garden is I put my rain gauge in, and I have a little paving stone and a little decorative lamb that I like to put out. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video today of planting my vegetable garden this year. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. I'll link all the supplies I can find for you guys in the description box below, including the irrigation system, which you can see running through here. We'll probably run that later this evening once the sun goes down a little more. And you can check out a video on installing the irrigation system to see how we did that. I hope you're having a wonderful day. See you next time. Take care.